was just having a little dad dance there, you know, it just shows my age a little bit. I quite enjoyed it. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome. Should say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome. And to our two friends that we have who follow our show in Germany, every single show we have, they always send us messages. Thanks so much. Schönen guten Abend und wie geht's und willkommen bei ThreeBOD. Drei Männer and bod. But actually, it's only because I can't say Keego in German. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to the Keego and Big Joe show. Another of our ThreeBOD shows group, as it's now called, presents. And the man who has set the catwalk alight with his comedy, his humour, his personnel. We say personnel because it's not quite an E, personality. But his humour is now just taken the boards and Dublin and Ireland and then the world by storm. It is the funniest man I know at Sea Point Rugby Club. Keego!
Yeah, that criteria gets smaller and smaller. You know, the funniest person I know in a square that's on a screen in front of me. Yes, good evening. Yeah, it's all good. I still have a little bit of Novocaine in my face, so if I start drooling all over myself, aside from the riveting conversation, that's the reason why.
Dribble.
Yeah. I'm a bit self-conscious with my new teeth, so let's not. I'll just be showing them off for the whole thing. I'll be smiling at everything everybody says. Yeah,
absolutely. Joe Lyons, Joe, good evening. Always welcome to have you on, mate. Anyone for Dentine, give us a smile. Absolutely. I was trying to talk to him this afternoon and think, there we go. You're welcome to the Keego and Big Joe show. And tonight we are taking a break from our grassroots and community rugby, our trip around the world, trying to get people to sponsor us to go and visit Tahiti. If anybody's watching from Tahiti or you know somebody in Tahiti, me and Keego are very, very cheap in every way. So give us a shout. We'll go on. Tonight we're looking at we turn our gaze back to Europe and the EPCR European and Challenge Cup quarterfinals. And interesting little sort of scenario we've got tonight. And tonight, as ever, we are during COVID and beyond. We are partnering and supporting local Irish and global businesses. And tonight it is the Irish Whiskey Review team, Marty McCauley and Justin McCartney. I wasn't into whiskey until a number of years ago. So if you think you're not into whiskey, go and follow these lads. They are great crack and they explain why whiskey can be bad. They explain what air and water and everything does to it. And so go and have a look. It's the Irish Whiskey Review. The YouTube channel is on there and also the site is on there under ulsterwhiskey.com. But go and give Marty and Justin a bit of a nod and learn a little bit about whiskey. So on with tonight's show. Keego's going to start us off in a minute, but we have a very, very special guest. We've been wanting to try and get this lady on for must be about a year or so, and it failed the first time. And we thought, this is ideal because one of the games at the weekend is the mighty Leinster. Just throw that in for the first time. 3 in a row, Pro 14 champions, 26 and 26. Apparently, somebody told me the other day, unbeaten, and from 365 Sporting Days. She was a business manager. She was a bursar. She turned her whole life around and went into sport. And she's going to tell us all about it from 365 Sporting Days. Debbie Knight. Debs, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, how are you? I'm grand. Nice
tell
to be.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, so my hobby is to write about the sport that I watch. So I watch rugby union in the winter and I watch cricket in the summer. Of course, I haven't watched any sport since February, but yeah, so I spend my downtime, which is the majority of my time now, watching those two games and writing about them, basically. And I have to say, it has not been deep joy being a Saracens fan this year. I'm sure you understand that.
That's why you're on the show, my dear. Now, in fairness, I sit in the Sarries fan group, don't we, Keego? And we've always been well looked after. It has been a difficult time. It's been discussed to death. It's not where we are to where we're going to, but you're here in your own right as a Sarries fan, but also with 365 Sport. 365 Sporting Days. What a title. You got to explain to everybody where that came from, by the way.
Right, no, well, there's the story behind that. I lost my son in 2009 and I wrote about that. And I called that bizarrely 365 Happy Days, and that's something that I do on Twitter every day. I post something that's good on Twitter every day. And I was writing for a rugby website and I wanted to write about cricket. So I set my own site up and it seemed logical to call it the same sort of thing. So in the first year, I was still working as a business manager and I went and I numbered the events that I went to, and I went to 174 events in that first year. It cost me a fortune, so much so that when I then took early retirement, I had to go back to work again. I spent so much money.
What was your lad's name?
Luke. Yeah.
Start it all off. Fair play. Always in his memory. We raise a glass to him. Good man.
Thank you.
So, Keego, Europe tonight. We've got a whole pile of people now on interest, and it's been a weird time, hasn't it, with rugby? Because the Pro 14's just finished. Leinster back-to-back triple champions, and in the English Premiership, there's still 2 rounds to go, and then the playoff system. The French top 14 has just started its new season. They've just had 2 rounds in there as well. So it's all a little bit sort of around the bazaars a bit, isn't it, mate? What do you make of it?
It's very weird. Like, sport in itself is very odd. Like in golf, they've moved the majors now into the autumn. All this sort of stuff is moving around, and the way I tell my year is by sport. So I don't know what day it is, month it is, year it is anymore. So and it's interesting that France decided to move on, whereas we decided to finish up, and just the ways they all approached it. And when I was looking at stats and numbers and things for today, there isn't a lot to draw on this season so far. You know what I mean? Like there's a few teams that have never faced each other before, which throws everything up in the air. But it's it is a weird time. I'm obviously we're all delighted that sport is back, and for the most part everyone is remaining healthy and COVID free. And there's a bit of a rumor going around that there'll be people allowed into the Aviva once these new protocols are announced. Let's all just be cool. Let's all just relax. We don't need to get into crowds right now. Let's just wait. We all love it, but it's going to be a big week. The Challenge Cup, to be totally honest, it kind of passed me by a wee bit. And so doing the research over the last couple of days, you see the quality of the teams in that tournament, as well as obviously the Champions Cup. And Debbie's very nice, but there's 2 jerseys in the background there that are kind of, I thought I'd take the Leinster jersey off for a little bit. It needs a wash, if we're being honest.
Got it on.
No, we may all be friends after this. We'll see. But no, it's going to be a massive, massive weekend. Obviously, finishing off with the Leinster Sarries game.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are you making of life at the moment, Debs? Sort of from a sporting perspective, post-COVID.
So what am I making of what's happening? There's a crowd this evening at Gloucester, I believe, isn't there?
Excellent.
Yeah, 1,000 people for Gloucester Quins, I believe, this evening.
Normal.
Someone that watches county cricket, I feel really a bit annoyed by it all. They had a crowd at the Crucible for snooker indoors, but I can't go and watch county cricket, where realistically you social distance all summer. To be honest, you don't get massive crowds. But I don't know when we're going to be back to watching. Obviously, the season for the team that I watch won't start until people can watch, I think. So that's likely to be January. And what do you think this might facilitate them moving the season round?
Do you know what? Personally, I'll let Keego answer this because I know he's got a real good, strong point on this. But I wanted it to be changed around. People go on about in the Northern Hemisphere. Oh, Jesus, we go to a game and we whinge and complain that it's hoofing down with rain and it's cold and freezing. And then the biggest complaint that people get on moving the season around is like, oh no, winter is our sport. Oh, Jesus, lads, catch yourself on, would you? We like nothing better than going to a sevens competition where you've got a few pints and it's a bit of warmth and you're having a bit of crack, because the sunshine, the vitamin D makes you feel better. So let's catch ourselves on, should we? I think it's then we got sort of a bit of reality here. I'm hoping that we can. I'm hoping that we can sort of find some sort of balance, but I think it's going to take us a couple of years until things settle down fully, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think it would help I think the autumn internationals would be far stronger games. The two sides would be at the same level. Teams wouldn't be finishing seasons, starting seasons. All midway through seasons, it would be a fair contest. Now that may mean that we never beat New Zealand ever again, but I do think the way a season that works together would be fantastic. But then again, we get into the business end of things. the way they're splintering the game up. I only took notice of it this week with the November tournament that's coming up. It's been chopped up so much. Now we're lucky in Ireland that we have, most of it is on free. Oh, the Irish games are on free to air. We're lucky, but a lot of it is getting chopped up so much to the point where for your club, you're nearly going to need a streaming service. For your country, you're going to need a streaming service. For your sport, you're going to need a streaming service. So it's getting a bit murky in the business end of things, which may slow down putting everything in one calendar.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that. We are going to get on, lads, to the European stuff, but a little bit of a general chat around to begin with. First of all, very interesting. So today that Rassie Erasmus is looking to try to do an inland South Africa against the coastal sort of thing, almost a version of the Aotearoa, New Zealand, North Island versus South Island. And the 8-team competition, which is the Six Nations plus Fiji and Georgia, is that a precursor to maybe putting a second league together and a bit of promotion relegation? It's certainly a step forward. And the critical thing is Amazon Prime Sports TV are going to be doing that. I think that's freaking brilliant. You know why? Because it's all about money. I get that, but it breaks the mold of all of the others controlling what was there. So I think it's going to mix it up a little bit. And apart from that, I've got Amazon Prime. So really,
well, that's the thing. It's a tough one. Yeah, I don't have it either. I've nearly every other streaming service except for Amazon Prime. But this is the issue. Then you're kind of going, right, well, we're taking, and again, not to take over the show on this aspect, but it's really important that we generally talk about grassroots on a Monday. And the whole point of that is that the game is accessible to everybody. And the more we splinter it and the more expensive it gets, the less people can watch the game. And then this is all for naught, So it's that fine line that they have to tread on.
Cool.
Well, I would say that cricket has suffered by not being on free to air TV down to grassroots. So that would be a worry for rugby, really, too.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems is where does the money come for it? I'm surprised that the free to air just aren't finding it. But some form. It's really difficult. It is difficult, but I was shocked at first, and I thought, you know what, Amazon Prime, they've got these big giant studios, they're buying everything else up. Time will tell. Right, Europe Challenge Cup. Lads, there we go. So Keego's going to start us off on all of this. So we've got Bristol Bears from the English Premiership against the Dragons from the Pro 14. Bordeaux Begley from the French Top 14 against Edinburgh. Toulon versus the Scarlets, and Leicester Tigers versus Castres Olympique. Keego, give us a bit of an overview of your thoughts initially.
Yeah, overall, well, the Irish connection to a few of these, obviously, Madigan has played for two of those teams. We have a soft spot for Pat Lam, and it's a the quality is good. Toulon and Scarlets is going to be a really, really great game. Toulon, I think, are starting to feel that they want to get back at that top table. They have 3 stars, and you can't do these things in odd numbers. Scarlets, I think, are starting to turn a corner as well. They had a dodgy season and a half, and then this year they're starting to play the way they used to play, and they're always great to watch. They're always really, really, no matter what version of the Scarlet squad goes out, they all play a similar way, and it's always great to watch. That's going to be a fantastic game. Bordeaux and Edinburgh, I think Edinburgh are mentally broken. They can't wait to go home or go on holidays or socially distance away from a rugby ball, because that Ulster game they need some recovery from that. And Bordeaux, they haven't had game time. They haven't had a lot of game time, so it's all been training for a lot of the French clubs, and they may have 1 or 2 behind closed door games and things. Very slow to start, so we don't really know what the French guys are going to do. Are they going to be able to hit the ground running? Because we saw on our side of the world, Sarries lost their opening game post lockdown, but they did look good, but they just didn't finish the game off. Didn't play the way they played prior. Leinster were the same, and you look at Ulster since coming back, they have not been able to do it. The flashes of it. So we don't know what the French guys are going to do. And then we've got Leicester and Castres. I didn't write down the days on this. I should have written down the days. Apologies. This is live TV, folks. I'm dying on my hoop. Leicester have got their 3 losses in between 2 wins. they're about as consistent as I am trying to do a maths exam. Not very consistent. So, and they've no head-to-head with Cass probably in forever. No game time for Cass. So you're kind of going, well, Leicester are battle ready. They're good to go. They really should be able to roll over them. Bristol and Dragons. Bristol. We want Bristol to win, even though they're coming off a loss. That's the other game where there's no head-to-head, so there's no kind of some of these games like Bordeaux and Edinburgh played in January, Toulon and Scarlets played in January as well, so they know each other, they know what to expect. No one's really going to be changing a massive amount in that time. So, I really am looking forward to Toulon and Scarlets. The rest of them, you can kind of you can call the winners now, for me anyway.
We're just going to take that down a second because we have got some comments there already. We've got Joe Lyons is pimping for Bristol, Bordeaux, Toulon and Castres. That's an interesting one. Gregor Galway up there, one of our White Walkers. Bristol, Edinburgh, Scarlets and Leicester Tigers to win. Scotty Wilson from the Lions in Pink Team. Tigers all the way. Give us something. Yourself as well. And well, it's interesting. I mean, let me just go back at stuff. The time's up there for you, mate. Bristol Bears versus Dragons is at Bristol, and that's this Friday at 19:45 hours. Bordeaux Begler versus Edinburgh is Saturday, and I have to be able to say that. That's 12:30, and I'm assuming that's 12:30 French time. That would be, and then also on Saturday at 20:15, it'd be French time. Would be Toulon versus Scarlet. And finally, Sunday at 3 o'clock, Leicester Tigers at home to Castres Olympique. Debs, what do you make of any of those?
I agree with pretty much everything that's been said there. I think the one thing to take into account for Tigers is that French teams are shocking at travelling, aren't they? And pretty much like Saracens this season, I see the Saracens games we've had up till now as warm-up games for the match against Leinster. And I think for Tigers the same. They've got a new coach. I suspect he's been trying different combinations. I'd love to see Tigers win that one and go through. It's hard to see plus Toulon in an international competition, and it's quite shocking to see them down there, really, isn't it? And yeah, I think you're right about Edinburgh. That shattering loss is probably not a very good thing to be going into a European quarter-final. So I think probably 4 home wins, I think, for me.
4 home wins. Let's just stick that back up there. That's interesting. So Bristol, Bordeaux, Toulon and Leicester Tigers for Debs. Neil?
I have an irrational hatred of Leicester Tigers, so I'm going to go for Cast. But aside from that, it's the same. Friday night and Saturday night, big games.
Well, here's the thing on some of those. Bristol Bears, they're currently 5th in the Premiership with obviously 2 rounds to go. They've won 12, drew 1, lost 7, 59 points. Last 2 rounds, they beat the Saints, Northampton Saints, 47-10, was quite convincing. And then they lost away to Wasps, 35-59. That's just some amount of points, isn't it, for that? Dragons finished 5th in with 24 points in their conference in the Pro 14. I think you would have to say, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Dean Ryan, as people know, but I've got to say that I think Bristol Bears would be good for home win there. Bordeaux Begler, it'd be hard to see Edinburgh. I think Edinburgh's loss, you're right, took a lot out of them against Ulster. So I think whilst Richard Cockler's done a fab job at Edinburgh, I think Bordeaux Begler will be far too hard. That said, they've only had 1 game at home so far. They narrowly beat Brive in their only game they played so far, 25-20. So, but I think, Bristol and Bordeaux Begler for me as well. Toulon game. Scarlets, they obviously finished 3rd in Conference B with 10 wins from 47 points. But Toulon lost away in their first game. 29-15, they got beat by La Rochelle, and then they beat Lou at home 36-14. So, do you know what? It might just be a bit of a punt for Richard Cockerell to say, you know what, lads, for Scarlets to say, listen, we've got nothing left there. Let's go out and have a punt of that. And Leicester Tigers, well, you know, they're 11th, aren't they, from 12? And the only reason they're not 12th, and no disrespect to Scotty Wilson and the rest of the Tigers team, is because Sarries are below them, you know, by so many. They haven't had a really good season, Leicester, at all. I thought they'd do a lot better this season, but won 6 through 1, lost 13, 28 points from those 20 games, 11th position. They got hoofed in round 19, which is 2 rounds ago, away at Wasps, 54-7. And last weekend, they actually beat Northampton Saints 28-24. Castres have won 1, lost 1 in their first 2, and narrowly beaten at home by Stade Francais, but they beat Agen away narrowly as well. So, yeah, I still think that I'd go for Bristol, Bordeaux, Toulon, and I think Leicester Tigers will spring something against Castres, which would be a shock, I think, for a lot of people to see. Dave Topping or White Walker 1, 2 I see to the night, King up there with the White Walkers in Ulster, Bristol, Edinburgh, Toulon, and Leicester.
It's interesting, and it's interesting people are picking Edinburgh, because it would just, when you watch them for the last 4 minutes of that game against Ulster, that's a full-on. You need time to get over that, you know, like it just, because they were up 12 points twice in that game. Okay, there was an intercept which kept Ulster in it, which was a great play, but they were home and dry, and it left them, and they couldn't see what was happening in front of them, and that would just break your soul. And the way they looked when they left, it was just like someone shot their dog. It takes a long time to get over it. So it's interesting that people are picking Edinburgh.
Is that a rugby quote? Jesus, they went down.
It's in the unpublished Joe Schmidt book, what actually happened in the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. We went down like they shot me dog. There we go. Bob Tickle Ulrey, the man with the second best name on the internet in the rugby. Bob, great to see you back. I hope that you're well. Bristol, Bordeaux, Toulon, and Leicester. He agrees with me. Knew you would. You're a good man, Bob. You're welcome back anytime as well. And Greg Galway up there in Ulster is saying, it's 12:30 our time, would be 13:30 in France. There we go. So cool. And Ian Gilbert out in Madrid, our ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary to the court of Madrid from 3 Blokes a Ball and Bod. Ian, you're welcome as ever. Unfortunate at the weekend there, but look, that's the way it goes. When you come at the champs, Keego,
best not miss.
Best not miss. There we go. Ian says Bristol, Edinburgh, Toulon, and Castres. Another bit of a mix up there. I like it when it gets all mixed up like this. But it goes back with why I brought up the point at the beginning there. The Premiership still got 2 rounds to go, plus the English Premiership, 2 rounds to go, plus the playoffs. Pro 14's just finished. French top 14's 2 rounds into the next season. That itself, you know, is I don't know how we're going to sort of marry out the whole system globally as well, and as things come in, because when it comes into the 8-team international, that's going to be a little bit weird. And I'm surprised that I suppose we've been through this before. Can't tell the unions what to say, but there you go. Dave Toppin says, well said, Keego. When you come to champions, best not miss.
Come on, David.
Absolutely. Colin McConaughey, Reverend Colin, sir, good evening to you. Another one of our White Walkers sits on the border fence there. You know, should really be a Leinsterman, I think, actually, but there you go. I agree with Keego. Love to see Edinburgh win, but just think of the comments must be shot. One moment in history, which was Captain Darling's try saving pass for Billy Burns for Ulster. Just took the wind out of the sails, and that was it. So, be interested to see where we go. Right. Moving on to, and we're not getting over this quickly. We tried to get some people on from to cover the Challenge Cup, but the specialists we wanted available for the Challenge Cup, including approaching the Challenge Cup, the EPCR Challenge Cup people. Nobody came back to us. Oh, how very dirty. So we'll make it up as we're going along. So there are all the views of the pundits for the Challenge Cup, and now we're going to turn our sights to the first 3 games in the Champions Cup, the EPCR Champions Cup, and we're going to come back. We're going to leave the top game to the last for obvious reasons. So, ASM Clermont Auvergne. Nobody wants to go to Clermont. Like nobody ever wanted the Spanish Inquisition, but it's a difficult place to go. All French affair. on Saturday at 17:45 against Racing 92. And then on Sunday at 12:30, we have Toulouse, Toulousain versus Ulster Rugby. And then we've got Exeter Chiefs high flying in the English Premiership against Northampton Saints. I think that's only going to go one way. But here's some stuff. Clermont, okay. So they lost to Bayonne narrowly, 21-19. In their last game, so and that was at home as well. So that's an interesting one. Racing hoofed Montpellier, who are firmly only after 2 games at the bottom of the table in the top 14. But Racing 92 beat Montpellier, who are old. Renan Stenigan's team, if I remember rightly, 41-17. And Toulouse and Ulster. Toulouse beat La Rochelle 39-23. Ulster, as we know, have just come off a defeat against Leinster in the Pro 14 final, and we'll come back to that. And Exeter versus Saints. Well, let's not deny it. Exeter Chiefs are top of the Premiership, 73 points currently from 20 games. And although they were hammered by Sarries, 40-17 with a scratch team, we're going to come back to that one in a minute. Saints 7th, 42 points from 20 games, won 8, lost 12. Difficult to see. Neil Keegan. Apart from the Leinster Sarries, which we'll come back to at the end, what do you mean?
I love the Clermont Racing game. I love Clermont because we played them every year for about a decade, and they had the best fans in the RDS. Yeah. So I have a soft spot for them. But again, it's interesting. Very limited game time, a known enemy, if you like. So are they going to try some new tricks? What do they have in store? So it's good. That's the interesting part of that game, because it's not, it's nothing. Neither team is going to be worried or frightened of the other team. So I'd love Clermont to win, but it's weird. There's a lot of weird stuff coming out of Racing. They're looking to replace Zebo. Apparently, is the new rumor out today. So I don't know if that means there's a bit of unrest or whatever. But I'd probably say it's going to be tighter than a duck's arse, with Clermont squeaking through.
Interesting stuff. And actually, they just Clermont beat Toulouse in round 1 of 2 weeks ago, 33-30, which was narrow. But I mean, that would be a big game anyway. And Racing away beat Lyon 27-23 in round 1 as well. So there's not an awful lot there. But who would you put down, Clermont or Racing?
Is that to me? No, to you. No, you go.
No, I was good. It's Clermont up for me, and it's only going to be 2 kicks, 6 points
to Racing.
To Clermont up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm with you. To Clermont. What about you, Debs?
I think I go for Clermont too. I mean, they are the nearly men, aren't they, of European rugby? But I look at Racing. I said this last week, actually, in a chat I was having. Racing, I look and see a team of superstars, or a group of individual superstars, which sometimes actually doesn't translate into being a team. I think that's actually a weakness for Racing at times. And you're not going to get that amazing atmosphere that you have at Clermont, which is a terrible shame. So they miss out on that, because that is incredible, isn't it? We played there as well a couple of years ago. I think Clermont will do that. But again, a narrow one, I agree.
Okay, let's just stick the games back up. So, and then on Sunday, Toulouse and Ulster. Debs, we'll stay with you. Your thoughts on Toulouse and Ulster?
Toulouse, I think, I guess they did what Toulon have done in recent years. They kind of disappeared a bit, didn't they, as far as being one of the top teams was concerned. But they seem to be getting that back during the season that's just gone. I mean, they played 2-1-1, so you can take nothing from that. Are Ulster going to be in the same position that Edinburgh were for having? I mean, they were very soundly beaten, really, weren't they, at the weekend, if we're honest? I'm sure you'll be happy to be honest about that.
I don't remember what happened at the weekend there. Could you just remind us?
I think that they won Leinster won their 5th championship in 8 years. We'll go rather than just 3.
Oh, I need that as my ringtone. That's fantastic.
Back one again. See, 3 from 3. 3 from 3 is not as good as 5 from 8. Wait, anytime,
So does that?
Everybody had some good people.
Does it make them more determined to win, or are they a bit cheesed off now and they want to actually get off and have a bit of a rest? I don't know. I think Toulouse will be hard to beat in Europe. I think they're getting back to their best.
Obviously, we've got Colin McConaughey, obviously an Ulsterman, is on call. What do you think of the thoughts? All of our Ulster guys on watching tonight. What are your thoughts on Ulster and Toulouse and Ulster? Colin's just mentioning there that the French disciplinary procedures need a mention. The Toulouse players hearing that Farrell made that Harrelfien look like a model of professionalism. Yeah, it comes down again to the whole issue of standardization. Each union is really sort of doing its own thing. I know World Rugby has I discussed this with Deb this afternoon on the whole sort of judicial process and thing. And look, it's semantics. It's a lot of it is people's individual own thoughts, but there is definitely an issue across the board, even just in the Northern Hemisphere, where things just there's no equitable point about the whole thing, isn't it? So that makes it very, very difficult. Cole also adds there, actually, let's just say, oh, sorry, wrong one. Also saying that they've got 10,000 fans in Clermonty Head. Wow, that'll be interesting. It'll be phase 3 of COVID coming in. We hope not, but that's quite a lot. I know they've got there's a 60,000 is at the stadium, I think, that sent down there, but that's a lot. But that will add some atmosphere, because it is one of the things that makes Clermont is their fans, the fan base, as Keego said. It's absolutely phenomenal. So Ian Gilbert, Ulsterman, living out in Spain, obviously. Ulster to win because the best fan in Madrid hasn't had his ticket refunded yet.
It's as good a theory as any, really.
Just thinking the same thing, mate. We just think the same thing. Gregor Galway says that he feels that Ulster need to stop Colby, Justin Colby. I like Deb's point, though. It is with some teams. I don't think Toulouse are what they were a couple of years ago. I think they were starting to get back to it, and when they sort of came to Leinster, there were shadows there that there could be something, but it just wasn't enough for me. And I think the only French team for me that has played like a team consistently, although they are the early men, is Clermont, because they've played effectively as a team for so many years. Yeah. Toulon bought the way through there, like everything, and it fizzled away, like some certain other teams that we won't mention. Because no, that's like, but no, in all seriousness, they haven't done it. Toulouse, just done. Racing, absolutely spot on. Team of individuals where on paper it should be decimating everything, but that hasn't transposed itself always. When it does, it is pretty. They can be pretty lethal, but it just hasn't been fully there for me. Colin Montgomery says, McConaughey, as you were, says. Massive ask for us to go for Ulster to go to Toulouse. They ooze class. If we give them free ball, then they will destroy us. If we somehow keep it tight and frustrating, who knows? But Toulouse, big favourites. I think it's good for Ulster to go there, with everybody believing that Toulouse are going to be massive favourites. Do you think, Debs, that the loss to Leinster last weekend will affect them that much, or is it like, do you know what? Because I think, we discussed this at length the last few weeks, that the fact that Johnny Petrie and Dan McFarland at Ulster have really building something. I mean, they really are in the ascendancy. But do you think a bit like in a game like that takes a lot out of you mentally?
Well, it could well act as a positive, couldn't it? If they've built that momentum, they're going to want something from their season, aren't they? So actually, that it's an all or nothing game really for them. Sure, they can do it. Well, I'd love to see them go there and win.
The problem there, though, it's their second all or nothing game. They had nothing to lose last weekend either. Yeah, and they didn't really. They haven't fired a shot. And I know, when you do things like they did against Edinburgh, it does paper over a lot of cracks. That was all. I don't know where that came from, because that wasn't in their makeup. That hasn't happened in a long time. And so when you look at, I think there was a little bit of them getting carried away going into the Leinster game, and then they saw the selection of Leo and Stewart as a kind of a slap in the face. And even if they looked at it that way, they couldn't navigate it. They couldn't work their way through it. And I think that's the issue. They're building something great, but they do need to finish the season by firing a shot. And if that means running these guys close this weekend, that's a great finish to the season. But we're not drawing any inspiration from any performances so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the second half against Edinburgh was great, and that, like I said, goes back to the intercept pass and building on from there. But I really thought that would have transposed itself better last week, but last Saturday, but it didn't. So there we go. So Debs, Toulouse or Ulster?
Toulouse.
Neil?
Half my family are going to kill me, but we're going to lose.
Okay, so far we've got Clermont and we've got Toulouse. Actually, I'm going to go for Clermont and Ulster. I have to go a foot in that camp, but no, we quite like that. And then Exeter Chiefs, Northampton Saints. So on paper, Keego, you just got to say that Exeter was just going to run away with this.
Yeah, I was looking at this and I was trying to find some positives for Northampton, aside from the fact that Dylan Hartley doesn't play for them anymore, which is a positive. Yeah. But you look at every single stat, every single record of the last kind of 5-6 games, there's an L beside every single result. Yeah. And you're kind of going, yeah, okay, they're going to fire a shot at some point. But when you get to that point where you're losing so much, whether it's J4 level or Northampton first team, you just want your holidays, like they've been beaten up for 5 games in a row, not doing anything. And Exeter are kind of, they're really likable, they're really smart, they're great play, they play like a team. They're going to, look, I know you're supposed to build everyone up in these games, but they're going to roll over them. Exeter are going to roll over them. And Exeter are a dark horse for the entire tournament.
They've, go on, I'll come back to them in a minute. Debs, Exeter, Saints.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, Saints were actually, before we had this break, Saints were looking a fantastic team. So I don't know where they've gone to, actually. I mean, whether that's the inexperience within their side, I don't know. But it's hard to see anything other than a Chiefs win. They've been fantastic since they came back.
What happened last weekend against Sarries?
Against Exeter. Well, they were 2 very young and inexperienced teams, weren't they? I mean, I don't take too much from that result, to be honest. I don't think it means an awful lot for either team. I think it means the future's bright for both of them, because there were good things to be seen from both teams. But I don't take very much from that result, really. Okay,
cool. Ian Gilbert's just saying there, he says, because I picked Ulster. Good man, I knew that would be. Robin Christopher says, daft question. What was that my one about Exeter and Sarries? Yeah, I like it. Welcome to the show. I don't think I've seen you before, Robin, but we'll hunt you down later, mate, and send you some Leinster paraphernalia, mate. So wherever you supply, we'll sort of gradually bring you away from me. Don't worry. Anyway, seriously, you're welcome to the show. Gregor Galway says the great fans, the Chiefs very welcome. Yeah, I've got a soft spot, as everybody knows, because one very, very cold night in 2013, very bitter night at Exeter, and we were well looked after. You even let us win, which was quite good against Leinster. So I was on a soft spot there for them. Colin says only concern for Exeter is that when it mattered last year against Munster, they choked. Yeah. Every aspect of their game fell apart. If they can get over that, they are a threat to Leinster. I would agree with that wholeheartedly, 100%. And Robin Christopher just saying, yeah, my question about Sarries and Exeter was a daft question. Here we go. Well, we're all allowed one daft question together. I'm a daft person, so we live with it. But you're welcome anyway to the show. Joe Lyons says, Exeter are the dark horse for the total package. Outside of, we'll come to Leinster and Sarries just now, but outside of maybe those 2, who would you, Debs, who would you put your money on from the other 6 teams that are left?
Well, unlike everybody else, I'm not just going to presume that Saracens roll over on Saturday, I'm afraid.
Absolutely. Not at all. No, we're going to come to that just now.
Because I don't think any team rolls over in a quarter-final. Let's be honest, Saints could beat Chiefs at the weekend. I think if you've got that far, you should have the capability to win. I I'm not sure Chiefs are ready to fight on two fronts just yet. And I'm not yet prepared to say that Saracens are going to lose on Saturday, so I'm not going to make a comment on that one.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay, well, that will lead us on. Casper van der Merwe. Casper, great to do the stuff with you yesterday from the Cheetahs forum, Supporters Rugby Forum in South Africa there. Neil Keegan, you have teeth, I don't. Good man yourself. To which Keego's just added, I'm very self-conscious about these the new teeth. Show us the teeth. Show us the teeth properly, Neil. He's not even look at that. And I'm going to have to put, I don't know about these glasses. I'm going to put
you need your sunglasses on. Yeah, it's
going through the ether. It is.
They were knocked out, so they're finally put back in. So now I'm, I can't blame my gap teeth for being ugly. It's the face that's the issue now. So we'll get a bit of Botox for next week. We'll see what I look like.
Cool stuff. So there are 3 games. So Saturday at 17:45, Clermont are home to Racing or French Affair. Toulouse against Ulster Sunday at 12:30, and next to Chiefs the same day Sunday at 17:30. So that leaves us then with the mighty 4 times European champions Leinster Rugby, just come off the back of another tripeat. A triple Pete of the 2014 5 and 8. Oh, it just gets better and better. I'm trying to be impartial here. Yeah, right. 5 and 8 years, as Debs quite rightly points out, and 26 out of 26 games undefeated this year for Leinster so far. Saracens, awful run of luck, if I may say so. Awful run of luck. Languishing at the bottom. It was only ever going to be sort of one thing, and it's been a strange season. So Debs, we'll let you start us off. Where do you think you are as a club overall at the moment? What's sort of the general feeling of the club, first of all?
Well, right, okay.
That was definitely in from the side. Get our penalty.
Do you know, last weekend, I mean, I guess we probably will talk about that tackle at some stage. Last weekend, I've watched Saracens live for 11 years. I think that was the worst performance I've seen from Saracens in that 11 years. Honestly, they were shockingly awful. I mean, I've written down a potential team. And there are over 1,700 caps for Saracens there and over 300 for England, and then add in a couple of international, some other teams. It's whether or not that team can click. If we're perfectly honest, the final last year, I was quite gobsmacked by how that went. I mean, for me, historically, with European rugby, I make a point of watching Leinster whenever I can, and I will carry on doing that because obviously my team are not going to be in it, because they are supremely good at it. But I'm not prepared to say Exeter are going to be a challenge to Leinster, because Leinster might not win on Saturday. Saracens are not going to be putting out any, an inexperienced team. I think the player we're going to miss most of all is Liam Williams. He is a world-class player.
Yeah.
And he did amazing things in that final at Newcastle. And if I'm thinking right that Alex Good is going to step into 10, we now going to have a potentially Sean Maitland at 15. Not his position. Elliot Daly, that I wouldn't want to see him at 15. I've been liking him at 13. But it should be a good game. I mean, Leinster have got over 12. If you looked at this, do you think it would be the same team that played against Ulster?
No.
No?
No, I can't go cover that. No, not at all.
No, not at all. I've added my cap.
Oh Jesus, we don't even know what the team's going to be. Like it's a mad situation. But sorry, I'm jumping in there. Sorry, I don't interrupt.
No, so if you did look at that same team again, there's incredible experience across the board there, and I know that the people that were sitting on the bench and to come in for Leinster have got again fantastic experience. And someone that's 6'11". I knew he was tall, but I didn't realise Devon Toner was that tall. Wow, incredible! I hope it's a good game, and I hope on the day the best team wins. And I wouldn't like to say who it's going to be.
Keego, give us your initial overview.
Well, here's the thing. Obviously, no one's going to roll over, and kind of all of that kind of talk is nonsense. That's just fan stuff, not supporter stuff. That's ridiculous. But I think both teams have a lot to play for, silverware aside. Sarries have a season to save, and Leinster have a ghost to get rid of. Last year rattled us quite a lot. That final was tough to stomach, and kind of the lads have rebounded from that point. Sarries, if Sarries put a bullet in Leinster this weekend, that salvages a huge amount for them. And in terms of team selection, like we're saying, Leo and Stewart have, in some positions, they have 4 options, and everyone is fit, everyone is ready to rock and roll. Maybe Levy and Furlong are probably not going to make it, but everybody else is in the shop window, and you're going, well, I'm looking forward to, the big thing for me is the second row. I'm looking forward to that, especially seeing Ryan back last week again with Toner beside him. They just looked unstoppable. And then giving Ringrose the captaincy beside Henshaw adds another leader, a certified leader in the group. And I think everything is lining up well. My only worry, not my only worry, but my top worry is that you can't tell how far you can push, how much you can fight if you haven't had to fight yet. And Leinster, you look at the Munster game where, without trying to start a fight with our Munster brothers and sisters again every week, Leinster didn't have to do anything in that game, and there was drop balls, offsides, tackle, all this sort of stuff. So the head needs to be in, the penalty count needs to come down, the set piece needs to work. You look at the stats. I think Sarries, there was a stat where they haven't lost a line out in a certain amount of time. I couldn't remember the time, but like, they're going to aim at our line out. They're going to aim at our second row, and I feel that that's going to be a massive battle. There's a huge amount of Kelleher's going to have a bullseye on him. They're going to try and rattle him. And I just can't wait. It's going to be a great game. Pre-match banter aside, it's going to be insane.
Yeah, certainly. Martin Buggy says, I certainly don't think Sarries will roll over. Not on Monday. This has been their most important game since the points reduction and relegation. They will throw the kitchen sink at us. I think we saw that by the team they put out last week, in fairness. Mark McCall is a very, 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 very astute man. He's somebody that I want to coach Ireland at some point in the future. I really, really do. They will throw the kitchen sink at us. They will want to go down retaining the title. Any team that has Billy Vunipola in it will have a chance. It's far from a foregone conclusion. I think the winner of this game could have the impetus to go on and win the competition. Leinster haven't been challenged since the return of Pro 14. Sarries have also several. I can't see what the rest of that says, Martin. Sorry. Colin McConaughey says, I think it would be foolish to write Sarries off, but Leinster have this annoying habit called winning. Look, some of us do, mate. It's just one of those things. Confidence is sky high, and to add to that point, to prove after last year, I can't see past the boys in blue. Joe Lyons goes on, class attacker, his lines are magic and would definitely cover into serious questions. That's going back to Liam. Martin Buggy, Will Connors, he's talking about there, to come in for a chop chackling job on Billy Vunipola, stop him, and we stop Sarries.
That was, you could see that seed being planted against Munster, where they said, right, today you're playing with CJ, and you've got to chop that tree down, because we're going to need you to do that job in a couple of weeks' time. So it was great to see everything building up that way. I'm still, the guys are mentioning it. When you haven't had to scrap for anything, is it a switch you can just turn on at will? Now, best case scenario, they don't have to, but they will have to. And I see the middle third of the game is going to be just war. One team is going to try and stretch their legs, and it's going to be 2 brick walls smashing up. Like, Sarries run the ball, keep the ball. Leinster are happy to let people run at them. We can't do that. We can't do that for 80 minutes against Saracens. So there's got to be changes between the games we've had so far post lockdown and this weekend. So it's interesting to see what they're going to do. But chop tackles all over the shop. Yeah, they may as well wear lumberman jackets and chainsaws. They're going to be chopping people down.
So I'm getting, it's quite interesting watching all the messages on here and getting messages on here as well. I'll come back to the reason why my eyes go everywhere in just a second. I had 2 messages again. I think I explained this a few weeks ago, but I'll come back to it in a second. Colin McConaughey says, big call, but he would start Ross Byrne. Lad is cool. Great. Last 2 games have been absolutely fab. Johnny Sexton has been on the bench. You could see, Johnny was itching to get on last weekend. We'll come to the teams back in a second. Casper van der Merwe from the Toyota Cheetahs. Can Leinster win the cup? 2, they start slow and they end the game on a high note. Dermot O'Rourke, Dermot, great to have you on last weekend. Is watching us on YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel, 3 Books of Ball and Bod, by the way, and like and follow, subscribe. Sorry to that. Thanks very much. Has to be a Leinster win. Strength in depth is the key. They will want to put one over on Saracens from last year. Joe Lyons.
Got to be a big start. Yeah, it's got to be a big start. That's it. Like, last year we kind of we were lazy, not lazy, but a bit too placid. We need to start big, and that's it. Send the message early.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your starting team, Debs? What do you think? What's your pack?
Right, I don't think Mako's fit, is he? I'm presuming Mako's not fit. I'm not entirely sure, but he's had no game time. So I'm going Richard Barrington, Jamie George, Vincent Cox. So we've got a World Cup winner and an England player that was in the final, obviously. Richard Barrington, a bit of an unsung hero at Saracens, actually, but pretty good player. Never going to be capped, but comes and does a very good job. And then Maro Itoje at 4. Will we see George Cruz at 5? Rumour has it we might. I hope so. And then Michael Rhodes, Jackson Ray, another guy who so often he's man of the match for Saracens. For me, time after time.
Solid player.
And then Billy Vunipola, hopefully not in the same sort of mood he was last weekend. Hopefully in the mood where he wants to win a game, not have a go at the referee. Richard Wigglesworth, I don't know. I forgot about him, actually. And then I was looking through trying to see the caps that people had. But I think if he's fit, he'll start. But I think Aled Davis has actually done quite a good job for Saracens. But I'd want the big game player there.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Good at 10. And then we've got 2 very good wingers, but I 2 more experienced. But I'd have the younger ones, Alex Lewington at 11. Mm-hmm.
Very fast.
Barrett at 12, because you just wouldn't you, if he's available. Elliot Daly in his best position at 13. Rotimi Segun, who's been fantastic this season. I'd have him at 14, and then Sean Maitland at 15. And the issue about strength in depth, that's the bench was key for Saracens last year, and the bench is looking a bit light for me this year.
Who do you think going to be? Because you are down a few players in fairness. Who would you be looking on your bench?
Well, I'd have Tom Walsoncroft to come in on as hooker, and then 2 quite inexperienced at that level props. You've got Sam Crean and Alex Clary. Tim Swinson, it can't be said he's not experienced. Sean Raphael to come in the back somewhere. And then if we've got, if Richard starts, you'd have Aled Davis coming on. Duncan Taylor has played again recently, another international player. And then Manu Vunipola could just be our little wild card, because I suspect, like your Ross Byrne, that lad is a real talent, actually.
Manu is very good, isn't he?
Yes, he is very
good. The unsung name, but he's always. I like the likes of him, and like you say, Richard Barrington. Richard Barrington is a real good, solid squad player, almost like a Michael Bent fit for us prop as well. They're not journeyman players; they're just good, solid squad players.
Yeah.
And actually, in a lot of teams, they'd be a lot more higher credential-wise. That's not being disrespectful to them. It's just that some of the players, some of the elite teams have got are so world-class. These guys are really, really good, solid. They provide so much continuity to the time, and I like Richard Barrington. I think he's very, very good. So, yeah, interesting times. But like you say, do you think briefly that you'll miss Baby Faz?
Who wouldn't miss Baby Faz? But do you know? I remember last year when we played Glasgow, Alex Good stepped in. at 10 and did a fantastic job. That was his original starting position, Alex. And I think he's a very, very talented player. I think Owen would have been more of a target had he been starting. Everybody knew the minute he did that tackle that was going to be it as far as Leinster were concerned. We have to go forward without him. I don't know whether you saw Manu at the weekend. That lad to come on partway through. It's an exciting prospect, to be honest.
He had a lot of sparkle. It is fair to say. He really did have a lot of sparkle.
European commentators will get his name right, which BT Sport seem to want to call him Mako for some reason.
Absolutely, yeah. You can imagine Mako going into that position, really, can't you?
He's got the hands for it, definitely, but probably not the movement somehow.
Martin Buggy says that he was raging to hear that Wiggy could be playing. He's been an excellent Sarries player. Thankfully, Skelton moved on. He was very good in Newcastle. Yeah, Will Skelton, really solid. And again, another game that was really turned on just before half time. I think, and for some reason that sort of deflated us last year, but it was very, very good. Martin Buggy also adds, before we go to Keego for Leinster, we've barely had to go from third to fourth gear. I think we went from second to third gear. No disrespect to Ulster at the weekend. First few minutes we were a bit sort of slow coming out, and that doesn't take away from Hume's awesome try, because his positioning and his vision was excellent. That was a sublime try. But I think we've gone from second to third gear. We haven't been tested that way through, and I think this is going to be the game that will do it for both sides. But we've not had it too hard. But the question is, can we put it into fifth gear when we really have it? And Sally's will certainly test us for that. Neil, the Leinster 15, and then your benchmate. Who you'd be looking at? Or being well.
Anyone thinking about rollovers and things like that after hearing Debbie's team, you're kind of. I was in a good mood up until you named that team, and it's kind of hurt me a little bit. But my team. And you kind of, I don't know, maybe it's because of the rapid games that are flying at us all the time. I only really started thinking about it yesterday, and you kind of go, well, they're missing Farrell. Who's going to jump in? Now, as soon as people have been mentioned good, that immediately made me think Van der Fleer at 7. And he's going to be just running at him all day, much like he did last weekend. But for me, starting at the front, we got Healy, Keller, Porter. Porter was playing like a 100 capper last weekend. I don't know if they just didn't feed him for a month or what, but it was just, he was on form. Obviously, Ryan and Toner in the second row, which is going to be the battle of the day. It's going to be fantastic. And then at Connors, Van der Fleer and Conan are my back row. I love the job Van der Fleer did. Now I know he's a different player, but I love the job he did last weekend. Really rattled Burns, and I think that's something that they're going to try and do. And then obviously midfield of Ringrose, Henshaw, Sexton, McGrath, Larmour fullback, Keenan, and Larmour on the wings. I think Keego deserves a shot. I think he's been just fantastic all year, and I think it's great to show the squad rolling all the way through to this game.
Well, interesting, because I was just in my mind, Martin Buggy's just thrown up exactly what I was thinking, which is you've forgotten Caelan Doris. He must start. So,
we've also forgotten Deegan. We've also forgotten, you know what I mean? There's
Max Deegan, like awesome. There's like a plethora of talent. So, Martin Buggy, you put Caelan Doris up there, right? Who's your back three? Write down your back three quickly while we're sort of discussing other things. Dem O'Rourke over on YouTube says there was Porter's on fire, an absolute tank in the front row on either side. We discussed this at the weekend when we did our watch along, the fact that this man is a world-class prop, and mentally to switch from tight head to loose head, and he can do it like that, is just absolutely phenomenal. So I think that I don't think Ty Furlong is going to be back. I think that they're going to bring him back when they need to, because we've got the strength in the squad there. If you've got a world-class dual prop who can replace a world-class prop, why would
those two starting 15s, you kind of go, this is just going to be insane. It's going to be absolutely bananas. And, equally as kind of, I took a step back when Dev's named her team. I think everyone from Saracens watching today, they're going to do the same with that team. Like, it's just, and again, you've got Connors, you've got Doris, you've got Deegan. There's 100 people in the back row. Also on the bench, you've got people like Fardy to come on for a bit of scrap. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. So Martin Buggy is there. You're forgetting Caelan Doris, right? So who's your back three? Stick your back three up quickly, because Tim Kelly.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Great to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Martin agreed. Doris is the starter. Okay, so Martin Buggy and Tim Kelly, step up to the mark. Who are your back three then? Because Keego's had his, and if you're going to leave him out, there we go, Martin Buggy.
Yeah, your backseat driver.
Back three is unchanged. Keenan Jordan and your backs. Your back row, as opposed to your back three, mate. Sorry, Keenan, Jordan, and James Lowe, Johnny and Luke at 10 and 9.
Yeah.
I think Byrne will start at 10. I think I think the jury is out on right. That's a yellow card. That's twice he's been in the side.
His name is McCaw, is it? Yeah.
All the time.
Either that or he fancies himself as a scrum half and he's coming onto the wrong side. But there we go. Colin McConaughey says too many back rows at Leinster. No, you can't have any. Oh, look, I didn't even read that before I got to send a couple more. You had enough of ours, and it still didn't work. So back to the drawing board yourself. No, in all seriousness. So Tim Kelly, well done, sir. Thank you very much. Connors, Van der Fleer, and Doris. So he loses. He puts Connors in.
Taking Conan out of that. That's bananas.
Yeah, honestly, it is. I'm a huge Jack Conan fan. Yeah. I really think he's sublime. But you know something? I like Caelan Doris. I like Bill Connors. He's become a turnover king. I like Josh Van der Fleer. It is very, very difficult.
I think the job Van der Fleer did last weekend, I think, especially with the change of 10 for Sarries, I think that's why, only for me, that would be why I put him top of the list at that position. It's not based on any sort of real thought. It's just the job he did last weekend.
Okay, so Martin Buggy, Dev Tone in the second row with James Ryan, Doris Connors and Conan for the back row for him. So, what about our bench, Neil? What about the bench?
Yeah,
Ryan Bird in.
Yes. Nugget's going to be in there. Bent is going to be in there. Yeah. I now maybe that's just me having a soft spot for the fella. Like, common sense says Tracy. Post that first, there was a little niggle when he got on last weekend, and then he was very, very solid. I just have a soft spot for Nugget. I think there's a performance in there somewhere. And if he's able to bring that out, coming on with 10 to go, 15 to go, him barreling into people, that's going to get Saracens moving backwards, which would be great. Not that Tracy can't do that. But then when we're talking about Doris, we're talking about Deegan, we're talking about all these guys, there's going to be someone on the other one is going to be on the bench. So, like, if Van der Fleer comes on with 20 to go, the speed increases of the entire game. So, like, the front row, you kind of got your, okay, Tracy, Nugget, you've got Bent to come on, Baird to go on, and then you kind of got your two back rowers, Fardy as well, and who am I missing? I'm missing one more.
Burn. If
there you go. Sorry, yes. Sorry, yeah.
I'm whiskey. Says that the cat is looking for the mic. Very good. I like what you did there. The cat. Very subtle. We like that, mate. We like a bit of humour. Well done. So, I think the teams are fairly evened up. Actually, if the team that Deb's starting 15 goes for, I think it's really good. I'm a big Alex Good fan. I think he's very, very good player. Yeah, actually, I probably would have liked to have Baby Faz in, because he's more of a dealable known entity for us to target. Alex Good isn't as much. So actually, I think that's an interesting. I think the two benches, though, I think Leinster's bench will be the stronger of the two from what Debs has been through. But it depends on where it gets to at that stage, from the sort of 60 minutes point of view. So what we need to do then is, Jesus, lads, 1 minute, 1 hour 5. Where's that gone? Prediction time. Debs is a guest, so we'll leave her to the end. Keego.
I think it's going to be Leinster And I think the first bullet is going to be fired in the championship minutes before half-time, the reverse of last time, and there will be a kick in the last 15 minutes to get the full 7, win by 7, but 1 score.
Then O'Rourke over on YouTube watching us there is exactly the bench is the difference between the two teams. I think it is, genuinely think it is, and he agrees with you, Leinster by 7. Debs.
I agree that the bench is the difference. But this is the only meaningful game for Saracens this season. So I think that is going to be a big, big driver for them. I have to go Saracens, and I think the gap will be small. Yeah, by 3.
By 3, there we go. Yeah. And I think it will be Leinster by 15. It will be two convert tries through, and I think we'll pull away. But it will be down to us having a very solid defensive first 20, piling on the pressure a little bit, second 20, the championship minutes either side, and then sort of pulling away. But expect a little bit of the unexpected from somewhere. Scott Wilson, of course you agree. You're a Royal Engineer, mate. You know, of course you're going to disagree with me because I was a monkey. You know, I could say that John Buchan's under 11s would be playing Leinster and you'd still say that they'd beat as well. Come on, back in your box. Talk to you tomorrow, mate. Martin Buggy, to finish us off. Saris for the shocker. Could build up an early head of steam like England did to Ireland. We could be shell-shocked and not recover. Hence the reason, you're absolutely right. I say the first 20 from a defensive point of view for us is absolutely critical, and that's my only concern for Leinster at the moment, that we do that. So there we go. We've had a rattle through the Challenge Cup. We've had a rattle through over the Champions Cup. And the big game on most people's radars, not just because we're Leinster fans, me and Keego, but it is, and there's obviously Saris, but it is the game that's on, no disrespect to the other teams, the other games, but it is the one that's on the radar for an awful lot of people. So it's been enthralling. We're not sure whether we're doing a hashtag match watch, hashtag GoggleBod this weekend for the Leinster Saris game. We need to have a look at that. We'll just very, very quickly put up, there you go, there's the Challenge Cup games. Bristol Bears against Dragons, Bordeaux Begler Edinburgh, Toulon against Scarlets, and Leicester Tigers against Castres Olympique. And in the Champions Cup there, Leinster Saracens at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Clermont Auvergne against Racing, Toulouse against Ulster, and Exeter Chiefs against Northampton Saints. There we go. So, Keego, any parting thoughts, final thoughts?
We're all still friends. That's the main thing. May the best team win. I suppose I have to say that. But no, I'm starting to freak out a little bit now after your team selection there, Deb. So thanks for ruining my night's sleep a week early.
It's only a game, remember.
Great to see you on, Deb. Thanks very much for the time.
No, thank you. Enjoyed it.
Good luck on Saturday. I hope it's a good open game of rugby that's living up to the expectations of everybody, really, not just both the fans, and that there's no injuries and that it's good natured and everything like that, and we have a bit of crack. Thanks for taking the time to come on. I love what you're doing with 365 Sporting Days. Keep doing what you're doing. You're a lovely lady, and we look forward to having you back on soon. And thank you for the time. Keego, what we'll tell you is there may be a GoggleBod watch along match watch at 3 o'clock. So you need to watch ThreeBOD to Ball and Bod to go to the page ThreeBOD to Ball and Bod and like and follow that, and we will give you updates over the next couple of days. We can put the team together because actually to be able to do that, we need to find 2 Saracens fans to join us in the studio. And you know how it works on GoggleBod match watch, where you're watching us. Bit of pre-match analysis on the teams. First half and second half is split by the half-time analysis. Post-match, but the first and second half is you're watching us, watching the game, giving some crack, bit of engaging. So we need to find 2 Saris fans. Deb's, over to you. Work your magic. Find me 2 Saris fans for the weekend. I've got a plethora of Leinster fans who want to come on. That's what we need to do. More to follow over the next few days. Joe Lyons finishes off, says, Keego, give us a smile. There we go. Until Saturday, hopefully, for the weekend. Let's stay safe. Have a great time. To the man formerly known as just known now as Keego, because his legal team won't allow us to call him by his full name. To the fantastic Debbie Knight from 365 Sporting Days and Saracens. Thank you very, very much. I'm Big Joe Shep. There's another 3BOD ThreeBOD shows group episode of Three Blokes, a Ball and Bod, supporting the Keego and Big Joe show. Until sometime in the not too distant future, we'll say good night to you. Stay safe. See you soon. There you go.